Hi, good day to you, wherever you may be. My name is Osei-Agyeman, and I'm excited to start my podcast titled Hear Me Out with Sandy. And in the episodes to follow, I'm going to share with you the experiences I've had the privilege to have in life, in business, and beyond. You see, I've been fortunate enough to live long enough to have some tremendous amount of experience in various aspects of life. It's exciting to share some of the lessons learned, experiences that I've had, success that I've had, failures that I've had, the wisdom that I've picked along the way, the challenges that I've had to find the inner strength to overcome. All this, when it's all said and done, hopefully I can leave you with some golden nuggets and some tidbits that might help some of you, or for some of you who have also had similar experience, you see that your journey is not alone. We all have some journeys that we've had to go through. But at the end of the day, you have to look at yourself, say, have you had a good life, or are you having a good life? Are you content? Are you happy? Do you have that fortitude to do any and everything that you want to do? These are some of the things that we share. Now, I like to make this personal because in the past I wanted to write a book, which I still would do, but I think this podcast is going to be the beginning of me to share. And then hopefully you enjoy it. And in the course of doing it, I would expect you to send me some comments or some questions, and I'll surely go ahead and answer them on my YouTube webpage. Thank you for listening to me, and be a regular subscriber. All right, well, let me start from the beginning. You know, the beginning is tough. We're all born small. To a certain age, we don't even know what we're about. But then, at the earliest recollection, you can look at some of the things that have influenced your life to make you who you are. And I remember very well my parents, my mother and my father, at the very beginning, gave me some insights about what was ahead of me. I remember at a young age, or how old was I? Maybe about 8 or so. My mom would tell me, hey, Kabna, which is my local name, Nyansa de Uwebio, to it. It got a lot of wisdom. Even at that age, I didn't understand, but as time goes on, I grew up. I did get to understand. I did get to know what she was talking about. My father, who was also a quite prominent businessman and a quite politician as such, also exposed me very early to some of the big political people around, because it used to be his house that they used to congregate at that time, very young. And then one of the members in the group ended up becoming the president or prime minister of Ghana. A lot of them became ministers, influential people. Another person that had a great influence on me growing up was my senior brother, who was a professor in mechanical engineering at the local university, Kwame Nkrumah, University of Science and Technology, who actually took me under his wing at a young age and exposed me to education, and also exposed me to the quiet life. In fact, I started learning jazz or listening to jazz when I was about 13 years old, and because he had a whole bunch of albums. And he also made sure that I became a good student. So I always discuss some of the lessons that he told me about that changed my thinking at that time. In any case, there were also two brothers, the one that I came directly after, Brother O of blessed memory, and one of my older cousins who is now practicing law in Houston. I remember in the old days, I was the youngest and I was always the one trying to push things around. So one evening we were walking together from visiting one of their parents, and then as we were walking there discussing, this my cousin here, he was known for being a very, what do you call it, wise man, because he was studying Plato, Socrates, all these great philosophers. So one evening, he and my brother and him were walking, coming up, and as the discussion going on, he made a statement. That statement has stayed with me from age about 13, 14 to now. He said, Kwabena, you know, there's always more beyond. I didn't understand him, but then that's how I said, that's true. It's always more beyond. You never stop at where you are. You always have to look for the next beyond. And that's how some of the things I've got in my life. So at a very early age, my brother, as a lecturer, took me to live with him away from the city, in the college campus. And that became very important to me because I learned at that age how to be alone. Not lonely, but to be alone. How to think, how to know that you are the sum total, you become what you think about, and that you are the sum total of your thought process. I learned that early. So even though I was living away from the main city, I'll go back into town. My friends saw the difference in me, that I was calmer, quieter. But then I was acquiring all the fortitude that later on helped me to do some of the things that I've been able to do. So that's the beginning. So then, with all those background, what did I learn? I learned that we all have a purpose in life. The earlier you start knowing that and planning what your purpose is going to be and doing the kind of things that will help you to achieve your purpose, the better off you will be. I learned early that by being alone, get me the idea to think ahead. So I say, Kwabena, you're 14 years old. What do you want to be? How are you going to get there? What are some of the things that are important? And I learned early that one of the most important things was prayers. Prayers, affirmations, quiet time means time to yourself. Ideas come, you think it through. You pray for the positive energy to guide you so that your goals and dreams become true. And prayer became very important. I equate prayer also to meditation. When you're quiet, the God within you speaks to you. When you're quiet, you learn how to control your emotions. When you're quiet, you learn something that has also guided me, that you should always speak less, listen more, react less, and observe more. I learned all those early, and I've done my very best to make sure that in any situation that I find myself, these principles continue to be right in front of me. So, once I decided that the purpose has to be defined, I knew early that one of the things that I wanted to do was to become an engineer or a doctor or a banker real early. Okay, these were some of the things that I was thinking about because I saw my brother, very brilliant professor teaching mechanical engineering with a PhD degree in thermodynamics. And I saw the adoration that he was getting from all the students, how they really thought he was cool. And I also found out that one of our former president, President Kufuor, who knew my brother because they went to the same high school, after now would say, hey, Sandy, your brother, if you knew math more than him, then it's something else because he was extremely brilliant in math. Anyway, all my brothers were brilliant. So I used to think of myself, can I be as brilliant as them? Anyway, I wasn't bad, but because I had other people that were way ahead of me, they motivated me to always to strive to be the best. Hopefully I've been able to achieve that. Hopefully my children will see that I've done the best that I can in terms of these experiences that I've had. I also learned early that I was good in sports. So at a very early age, I said I was going to run in the Olympic Games when I found out I was a good sprinter. I also knew that if I was going to be a sprinter from high school, then the best place for me to go was to come to the United States to continue my education and my track and field or athletics career. How I was going to do it, at least the thought was in my head. I also knew very early, because seeing my father being a businessman, I realized that at some point in time, after my professional career, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So, in retrospect, all these things have come to pass, and I'm better for it. So in this episode, this is the beginning. I'm going to try to share a lot of different things. Some are funny, some are good, but it's an experience. I think we all need to tell our story one way or the other. Maybe you find it interesting, you find it helpful. But all the same, I'm doing what I want to do, which is to do my podcast and eventually write my book. So that was the beginning. Where am I now? After having done all the things that I prayed about, that has been done. I'm at a good point in life now where I've learned that inner peace is important. Mildness, kindness, and meekness are important. Forgiveness is important. Practicing non-judgmental attitude is important. Having a good heart, open heart, being kind, being sincere, being truthful are all important. Hard work, being able to work alone, being able to do the things that wherever you go, people see you and they're happy to see you. Where you learn how to stop doing things like gossip, anger, frustration, wanting to get something for nothing, being happy with where you are in life, and if you want something more, plan it and work it, and it shall come to pass. These are all the things that I've gone through now, and I'm accepting now. Yes, I've had some major successes, but I also have some failures. Significant amount of failures. And I realized that this life is about ups and downs, peaks and valleys. So the stronger person to do is when you're down, you don't kick yourself out. You lift yourself up. Look at the situation. What experience did you have? Are you going to apply with your next challenge? So life is an ongoing thing, it's dynamic. It will always be dynamic. When you make it static, that's where you have problems. I have my fair share of fun. And when I share my business experience with you, it'll be interesting. For 43 years, I've been self-employed, employing people. I've had employees over these years. I've had partners before. I've gone up, I've gone down. I've had experience with the banks, which I will share. I've had experience with different markets, because in my business, I had the opportunity to market in different countries, part of the world. And in the long run, you come to a point where you realize that nothing is permanent. And that you thank God, you live in a state of gratitude. If it's a creator that you want to call it, if it's God that you want to call it, if it's a Savior Jesus Christ you want to call it, always remember there's a higher power out there that guides you, that hears you. So when the challenge comes, take heart, lay back, smile and say, thank you, God. I'm great. You're great. You're with me. So that's just a background. I hope you understand. And since this is my first intro, I just want to make sure that at least hopefully I can get you excited so you join me on a regular basis to hear my episodes. So I won't keep it too long, but I will keep it exciting, I hope. Right now here, I'm visiting you. I've lived in the US for about 35 years, and I decided to move out to Ghana, where I'm from. But I keep traveling back and forth. And as on this episode, I'm speaking to you from the Maryland area in the USA. In the US, I live in Chicago for 35 years. do my business there, my education there, everything there. And then I moved back to Ghana to do the same business I've been doing for 23 years. Almost time to retire. But how can you retire when you're an entrepreneur? You never retire. You keep working till you drop dead. Because you realize that just getting up and going to work, just getting people around you to share with your experience, just being alive is exciting. And people say money is success. Yes, enough when you're healthy, which is very critical. When you have great open-minded, when you have good quality friends, when you afford the things that you want, it's all a blessing. Yeah, a lot of money is great, but what are you going to do with it? If you don't have plans with a lot of money and you have it, it's going to bring you more challenges than is necessary. So I'm happy, I'm grateful, I'm thankful, I'm excited, and I know there's more beyond, more that I'll be doing and more that I'll be sharing with you. Thank you for listening to my first episode on Hear Me Out with Sandy. Bless.